Brandon Noble, the former NFL defensive tackle, played in Washington, played for Dallas, also Penn State. He'll call the game this weekend, Eagles-Giants on Sports USA nationally. We're going to get some takes from him on this game, and also I want to get his take on, we're talking about which rivalry game in the NFC East you enjoy best. My favorite week is Eagles-Giants. You like Eagles-Cowboys. No one seems to pick Washington, but in Dallas and Washington, many of the people there might like that week the best. So what is so unique about the NFC East? Brandon Noble played for two of the NFC East teams, and he's about to join us now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline ahead of the Eagles and Giants game. This has been an awful division this year, Brandon. We thank you for joining us here, but it wasn't always like that, and I know playing in Washington and Dallas, you probably got to see a couple of sides of maybe what many people think was the best rivalry inside the division.
Yeah, the division is terrible right now, and it really has been really inconsistent and bad for the last couple of years. Unfortunately, all the teams kind of hit this cycle, where they looked good for a stretch. You look at the Cowboys a few years ago. I think it was Zeke's rookie year when they had that great O-line, and they looked like they were going someplace. And the Eagles obviously won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but have kind of fallen apart since then. And, the Giants are a train wreck, and the Washington Redskins are a dumpster fire. So it's a mess right now. And yeah, look, I got to play in it almost my whole career. I spent a couple of years on the practice squad with the Niners out on the West Coast, but seven good years in the NFC East playing for bitter rivals. And I married a girl from the Philadelphia area, so now I live in southeastern PA, and everybody hates me.
What was that, Washington? Because here in Philly, I love the Eagles-Giants rivalry. There's so many great endings and so many cool games in that rivalry. Hunter, he likes the Eagles-Cowboys. He's a little younger, so they kind of go with that Cowboys. But what was that Washington-Dallas like? Because it seems that Washington is like the redheaded stepchild around here.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with such distance between the last time that they were relevant in the NFL. And for me, the NFC East is the division that growing up, in the kind of late 70s, early 80s, and 90s, right, when I was a kid, it was the best division in football, right? You had those dynasties of the Redskins, and then the Giants under Parcells, and then the Cowboys, under Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer. You've got this stretch where the NFC East was so good for so long, and those rivalries meant something. I mean, they meant something. And with the proximity, especially up here in the kind of the 95 corridor, right, between D.C. And New York and Philly, right, they're all right on top of each other. The fans are intermixed. The Cowboys are definitely a little bit more, out on the edge. And heck, when I played, the Arizona Cardinals were in the division. So, it's crazy, but it's a great rivalry. To me, it is Redskins, Cowboys is the one that for me, because I played in it on both sides, and that was the one, that I kind of taken my cues from the older guys when I was young in Dallas. That was the one. All the division games were important. They all meant something. There was a history and a story to all of them. But the one that the older guys really got cranked up for was the Redskins when I was with the Cowboys. Unfortunately, my time in Washington was not, when we were very good. And so, we were kind of the bottom of the barrel, and we just wanted to beat anybody. But I think even from a fan's perspective, I give, my in-laws and my friends here in the area a hard time because every Eagles fan hates the Cowboys. But, Cowboys fans don't really care about the Eagles fans. I mean, they really don't. You know what I mean? I don't mean that. But, the way the Eagles fans get so heated about this game, the game that everybody cares about in Dallas is the Redskin game. Can you beat Washington? And if you do, then they'll let you in the bar. You know what I mean?
I've been saying that, Brandon. That's why, to me, I say the people in Philly give too much credence to Dallas fans because they don't care about you. They don't care. They like the Washington game down. If you're in Dallas, yep, beating Washington means more. It's a great division in terms of the history, but it's been bad this year. You're going to see two teams that I don't know. I don't want to say are two bad football teams, but they are two average football teams at best. When you look at the Giants in your preparation for this game, they feel like, anyway, that they're at least taking some steps in the right direction. In studying New York for this week, you're going to call the game for Sports USA Radio. What are you seeing from the Giants? They battled with Tampa. They should have beat the Eagles a couple of weeks. They've been in a lot of games. Are they taking the right steps for you?
Yeah, I think they are, and they are a bad football team. And I think when you look at that organization since they won those Super Bowls, it's definitely fallen into disarray, and that they've let a couple really important things slide in their offensive line and their defense, which is really what the Giants were built on. Obviously, they drafted Saquon Barkley. He gets hurt. You've got Daniel Jones there, who's a young quarterback struggling to kind of find his way. I watched him play a little bit in college. I thought he'd be better in the NFL. He has a turnover problem, but they don't do a great job of protecting him. And I really think that for the Giants right now, it's about the defense, excuse me. Like, can their defense kind of rise up and get after the quarterback, take advantage of some shortcomings that the Eagles have, especially up front when you look at the Eagles O-line, can the Giants D-line and pressure package get after Wentz, because the Eagles are so bad out on the edge at receiver. I think that's really where the Giants have to make their hay. But look, the thing that I like about the Giants, and look, I got this game and I'm excited because it's a nice, easy drive for me, and I just love being in the football stadium. But when you look at it, you go, man, like, this is a terrible matchup when you look at the records. But, like, when you watch the Giants play, they play hard, right? And as cliche as that sounds, I am not a moral victory guy whatsoever, but they really do play hard. And that's at least a base layer that you can build on as a football program. Now, you have to put the right people in place. You have to have a good quarterback. You have to rebuild the O-line. You have to do some things to give Daniel Jones some weapons. But, like, from that perspective, they're in the game, right? And that's, again, I'm looking for a plus, and that's the one that I've got.
What are your thoughts on Carson Wentz's struggles, and how much blame do you put on Doug Peterson, considering he isn't the one throwing the football and making these decisions?
Oof. I've called an Eagles game. I had the Eagles and the Ravens earlier in the season, and getting to watch them live. And look, man, Carson Wentz is a warrior, right? That guy goes out and plays, and he really does put it all on the field. But I think sometimes when you're a guy like that, you also push it too hard. You make a bad decision. You're not careless with the ball, but you're trying to make something happen. And that has definitely been a struggle for him this year. He has no weapons around him. The offensive line is absolutely fallen apart health-wise. And so without making excuses for Carson, that's the excuse for Carson. But look, he's got to be better. And I think, the Eagles are such a great franchise. Like, I love living here in the area because people love the team. They're hard on the team. And at the same time, like, it's important. Whether they're winning or losing, it's a great sports town. But at the same time, like that guy, if you're in that situation where, and I'm going to go back, I'm going to do it, Nick Foles wins a Super Bowl, that offense looked better when Nick Foles played. So I do think that there is a disconnect between the play calling and Carson Wentz and his skill set. And I don't know what that is. Like, I was a defensive lineman. I smashed my head into things for a living. This I don't understand. I don't understand all that on that side of the ball. But I do think that there is a disconnect between play calling and what Wentz does well. And I don't know how you fix that, because they looked a lot better when Nick Foles was a quarterback. Again, he had a better cast of characters, but Foles always looked more comfortable in the offense. I always feel like Wentz is pressing, and he's just uncomfortable all the time.
Brandon Noble, former NFL defensive tackle, he's going to call the game this weekend on Sunday, Giants and Eagles for Sports USA Radio. You'll get the national feed with his call on it. And, when you look at, you said you saw the Eagles against the Ravens. I mean, that game was kind of interesting. It was like a tale of two halves. Carson was awful in the first half. He brought them back. They kind of fought hard in that game. But when you look at the four teams, are they clearly the best, or do you think this thing goes down to the wire?
I think it goes down to the wire. I really do, because I don't think any of them are good enough to just take it. I don't think the Eagles are yet. And I think the Eagles are definitely trending in that direction when you look at all four teams. But I definitely think that you never know as the season kind of wraps up, and especially this season where you had such a limited training camp, you have little to no OTAs and off-season work. The last couple months of the season, the last half of the season that we're into now, really anybody, because no one's pulled away, no one's separated. All it's going to take is for somebody to get hot, and that could be anybody right now. I do think the Eagles, to me right now, are the team that looks like they'll do that, but you never know. You're one injury away. you're a bad bounce away, or you're, somebody getting hot away, and it changes. The NFL is crazy like that, and this division is so bad, but somebody has to win it.
It really is. Now, Brandon, you mentioned, you had time in Dallas and you had time in Washington. So I do want to kind of go back to the conversation. When you were in Dallas, you said Washington was the big game and that they didn't really care about the Eagle game all that much. What about Washington? Did they look at Dallas the same, or were they kind of – because they're a little bit more in this northeast corridor here. So when you were in Washington, how were the Eagle-Giant games viewed as opposed to Dallas?
Well, I think that the Redskins fans see the Cowboys game. That's the rivalry, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And again, I played in Washington for Joe Gibbs, right? So Gibbs comes back the second time.
Right?
And like that, yeah, right. And yeah, I'm not that old. I look like I am, but I'm not. I didn't play in the 80s and 90s. But look, I mean, when Joe came back, that was a game. Like he hated the Cowboys. So again, when you take your cues from guys like that, like I said, when I played for the Cowboys, Jim Jeffcoat, an old D lineman, was one of our D line coaches there and played for the Cowboys forever. And like you could just tell, like he had just this like hatred for Washington and vice versa. And I grew up in Virginia. Like I said, I live here in Southeast PA now, but like most of my friends are Redskins fans, and that's the game, right? The Cowboys Redskins. So when I played for the Cowboys, all my friends from high school hated me. Now, like I said, I live in the Philly area, and thankfully I played at Penn State, so I can tell people that.
As a former D lineman, when you watch guys like Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham succeed, what goes through your mind when you see them play at the top of their level?
Well, look, man, those guys are game changers, right? They're what you affectionately call a war daddy, somebody that is going to wreck things if not accounted for, and so they're huge when it comes to the success of the Eagles defense. Jim Schwartz doesn't like the pressure. He'll do it begrudgingly. He believes in getting there with four guys. And when Fletcher Cox is on, there's no one better. I think he's a guy that has to produce more, and you've seen him kind of tail off a little bit after he got his big contract. And Brandon Graham is a guy that just consistently goes out and plays hard. I love watching Brandon Graham play. I love watching Fletcher play when he's going. Again, a little harder interior-wise, but he's got to collapse the pocket. They've got some really, really good ones with the Eagles. And when you look at when they won their Super Bowl, right, that D-line was really good and their offensive line was really good. As much as we talk about Carson and the receivers and those other positions, the front four on your D-line and your big guys up front offensively really make or break your season.
Well, it should be another good one. It was a good one the other night, 22-21. It was a drop pass away from the Giants winning that game. The Eagles have won this one 8 straight times, and you'll hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN. Brandon Noble, former NFL defensive tackle, played at Penn State. He'll have the national call for Sports USA Radio. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Great conversation, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, fellas. Looking forward to it. Hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah, man. And we'll have it for you here live on 97.3 ESPN.